a world whereby lives are sold day in, day out, there's this thing we call human trafficking.
That is the why. Is it for sexual exploitation? This is the thought process of the perpetrator, that they had this as their end goal. There's sexual exploitation, there is forced begging, there is forced prostitution, there is forced marriage, there is labor exploitation. So we look at those three things when you're looking at human trafficking.
What exactly goes into your mind when you feel or you see yourself being sold from one person or one country to the other?
A victim of human trafficking, basically, they are being exploited.
Okay.
So they didn't know that they are going to be exploited.
On the Crimeshield Podcast, we are going to shed a light on this unbearable, vice that is among us. So join us at the Crimeshield Podcast, where we are going to demystify the myths surrounding it and bring out the truth from experts who will shed more light on this particular topic.
Children who are working in hostile environments.
Okay.
Mtoto anafanya kazi kwa kware, mtoto anafanya kazi ya kuuza maji, mtoto anafanya kazi ya sand harvesting. So you look at there's some work that when you look at it, you're like, this is child labor. And child labor falls under child trafficking.
Yeah. We sit on the TVs all the time and tunaangalia CNN, unaona kuna wase walikuwa smuggled ama traffic. Where is that thin line? Think about it. So today we just want to get to know more about what goes on behind child trafficking, and we have two amazing guests who will take us through. Mimi hata najiulizanga hizo maswali. Saudi Arabia, tusaidieni, tunaomba serikali. Hizo vitu zote, statistics, we need to get to know more only on the Crimeshield Podcast. And we have two amazing guests who will take us through. Nataka tuulize maswali yote in the comments. What would you want to know about trafficking? In the comment section, feel free and share so that we all get educated on this podcast. Without further ado, wacha niwakaribishe wenyewe watajiintroduce. And kama kawaida, ladies first, over to you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Cynthia Kitusa. I am a cluster coordinator with the Salvation Army, Kenya East Territory.
Asante, karibu Crimeshield.
Thank you.
Hapa ni passion and purpose throughout.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Wilson Chalo, working with Talita Kum International Kenya, communications and community facilitator and trainer. Yes.
Na mimi naona nyinyi young kabisa. What drove you into this career? Ni passion and purpose kama kawaida.
There's that. For me, nilijipata hapa. And when I got here, I was like, I think this is where I need to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. What about you, Wilson?
Unajua tunakuanga na dreams ukiwa mdogo. Unataka kuwa daktari, engineer. So kidogo manze nilijipata hata mimi.
Peo umejipata hapo.
Nilikuja tunasikia ngile unaambia ngoli fall to pap. Hapo sasa.
Karibuni sana.
Thanks man.
Mimi nataka tu we tell our Crimeshield fans, the Crimeshield Podcast fans on vitu kadhaa in your area of expertise where you deal with a lot of cases that involve trafficking, human trafficking. Nataka tujue where's the thin line from you, Cynthia? Thin line between smuggling ya watu wafikiranga ni drugs pekee zinakuanga smuggled, but pia watu wanakuanga smuggled. So I want to see your thought process behind could demystify that thin line ya smuggling alafu kuna human trafficking. Yeah.
All right, so let me start with human trafficking. When we're looking at human trafficking, we look at three elements where we have activity, we have means, and we have purpose. When we're looking at activity, we are looking at basically how did this survivor and perpetrator come, walianzia wapi, right? So you find that there is recruitment, there is transportation, there is harboring, there is transfer. And then we look at the means. Now the means is how did this perpetrator get the consent? Because many times you'll find that initially the survivor had given consent. Maybe you've been offered a job, you're going to say yes. But how? Did this person lie to you? Did they force you? Did they threaten you? And then now we have the last one, which is the purpose.
Okay.
Why? That is the why. Is it for sexual exploitation? This is the thought process of the perpetrator, that they had this as their end goal. There's sexual exploitation, there is forced begging, there is forced prostitution, there is forced marriage, there is labor exploitation.
Yeah.
So we look at those three things when you're looking at human trafficking. And then when you're looking at smuggling, this is the process in which one person has paid another person to ferry them across a border. So this is country to country. Human trafficking can happen within a place.
Okay.
It can happen within a country, and we have international and we have local trafficking. Because you can be trafficked from here to South B. You know? So that is trafficking. Trafficking can happen in any context of space.
Yeah.
But then smuggling, it is when there is movement from one country to another country. Right?
Yeah.
So that is the difference between smuggling and trafficking. They are very different in that sense. But somebody who has been smuggled can end up being trafficked. Because again, they are vulnerable.
Okay.
All right? But that's the difference between somebody who's been trafficked and somebody who's been smuggled. Somebody who's been smuggled, you'll find that hakuna hiyo element ya exploitation. They're just moving from one country to another country.
Yeah.
Motivation behind the movement could be anything. Maybe they are running away from war, conflict, poverty, or they've thought there's a better opportunity, but there's no exploitation.
Okay.
But for us to say that this is a case of human trafficking, it has to have those three elements: the activity, the purpose, and the means.
Talking of spaces, Wilson, we are recording this podcast at Wojo.
Yep.
It is found at Mercure Hotel, 10th floor. Umefeel aje kabla utuambie about your perspective about this topic?
I want to say reception top notch manzejo.
Walai.
Nimekunywa already nishakunywa Coca-Cola na sweet. Manze imeweza jo. So thanks so much for hosting us here.
So what do you think is the thin line between smuggling and trafficking?
Just as Cynthia has said, you see, a lot of people don't get to understand that a smuggling person who's being smuggled can be a victim of human trafficking. And one of the key aspects then what to differentiate now is that a smuggling person or someone or somebody who's being smuggled, they are complicit of that crime because they're breaking more than one laws, international laws on borders and migration.
Okay.
So they know that whatever they're doing is wrong. And if they get caught, they are going to be in trouble. But for a victim of human trafficking, basically, they are being exploited.
Okay.
You know, so they didn't know that they are going to be exploited. It's just like if I call Cynthia and then mwambie, cheki Cynthia, come to a place, and in this place I'm going to beat you up. You see, kuna hiyo aspect ita come through. And you want to beat me up. So you see, hata kuja.
Yeah.
But I'll use another way in which hata kuja so that now I can be able to exploit her.
Okay.
So there is, it's quite a, kuna kuanga tunaitanga hiyo difference. Ni mostly because one, it's a criminal activity, and the other one, it's more of an activity that involves the victimization and being a victim.
Yeah, I think sometimes we say that human trafficking is a crime against humanity.
Okay.
Smuggling is kuna humanity, and this one now is a crime against nationalities.
Okay. Nice. Talking about the difference between that, I would like to also know red flags gani wase wanaweza angalia, because you've said mtu anaweza niiba kutoka hapa na nipeleke South B or wherever within the confinement of the country or even a city. Take us through the key indicators or red flags zenye people out there can be able to see, huyu labda huyu msea yuko poa, labda amekuwa trafficked or something like that. Cynthia?
Some of the indicators that somebody might be going through exploitation through trafficking. One, we look at, first of all, let me say it is never obvious. It is not obvious. You cannot just look at someone and be like, hey, you're going through. No, you'll never know. Just like we can be in a room and you wouldn't know who's suffering from one illness or the other. So there are few things, and the things I will mention, it is not exhaustive of the list.
Okay.
So we have somebody who seems or appears to have minimized movement. They cannot move freely from one place to another. Hizi toka nje ya gate. Akienda kwa duka unaona ni kama anafuatwa, we look at somebody who's not able to speak for themselves. maybe perhaps you're somewhere and you ask a question and somebody is answering on their behalf. And when you're looking at this person, you're seeing that they are able to speak, but they're not being allowed to speak. We look at, sometimes we have indicators of somebody who looks like they've been abused. They have bruises, right? So physical abuse can be an indicator of trafficking. We have somebody who might not have possession of their documents. You'll find that for some survivors of human trafficking, the first contact they had with the perpetrator, their documents were taken away. We've had cases where people are taken to abroad countries and they get there and the first thing is bring your passport. Now you see, let's bring it home. Somebody's working in your house. Why are you taking away their ID?
Nako kwa nyumba yako.
Kwa nyumba yako. You see, the minute I've taken away your ID, I am restricting your movement. So those are some of the
red flags
that you can look into. And it is not to say that people who have these things are necessary. No, these are just things that you can look and be like, hapa, there is something. And then we have, let's look at baby children. Children who are working in hostile environments. Mtoto anafanya kazi kwa kware, mtoto anafanya kazi ya kuuza maji, mtoto anafanya kazi ya sand harvesting. So you look at there's some work that when you look at it, you're like, this is child labor. And child labor falls under child trafficking. Because kuna zile kazi za kawaida chores. But then there are some jobs you look and you're like, children should not be doing this. So those are some of the indicators that we look at.
Indeed, this is a very intimate conversation. That's why tunataka to approach in a way that mtu anaweza ona from afar to be able to understand exactly hizi red flags zinakaaje. Wilson, unaonaje red flags gani inafaa wase waangalie to notice ya kwamba labda mtu amekuwa trafficked?
Most of the time huwa tuna, just like Cynthia vile amesema, we cannot exhaust the list. And me yenye kiwa sana naangalia ni when you approach them, they seem like they are withdrawing as well. They don't want to speak to you. The other aspect ni health wise, kwa sababu kuna wale wenye tunawakuna kwa in the health sector. So you'll find when they come in, wanaleta illnesses like mostly STIs. You'll find like someone who's been defiled if it's a child or someone who's been raped. And they are accompanied by someone else. And instead of them kupatiana ile information that indoctrination happened here, this other person is the one narrating what happened. So you'll find there is that controlled conversation between them. So mostly we look at all these things. Kwa watoi, inakuanga tu direct. Unakuta hata akijaribu kuongea na mzazi, anamficha. Ni kama anataka kusema, lakini hataki kusema kitu. So unakuta ni kama amekwama. Alafu pia kuna issues when now it grows over time and it becomes now like a personal issue. You find like cases of suicide that will also come on board, having suicidal thoughts and things like that.
Talking about parents, still with you, Wilson. Ni nini unaweza ambia wazazi wenye koko hivyo nje on how to effectively talk to their children on this matter regarding the dangers of human trafficking and also bila kuweka uoga? Because unajua watoto they wanakuanga na extremes, so you can present that information, you want to educate them, but una instill fear kwao. How can they talk to their children effectively?
One thing yenye hata mostly when you are doing sessions with parents, we first of all let them know they need to be aware of what the environment right now looks like. Kwanza anafaa kujua world imechange. These are the current trends zenye zinaendelea. In terms of abuse, ni kitu inaendelea. Get to understand how you speak to your child. Kutoka venye alikuwa mdogo mpaka kufikisha kwenye yako. Understand the conversations. How do you talk with them? Now find a way in which you can be able to blend in the conversation with them. For example, if you're presenting a case of kama neighbor wako alileta mtoto kutoka ushago akakuja kufanya kazi ya nyumba na huyo mtu huyo anafaa kuwa shule, and they interact a lot with this child, so you let them to know at hiyo kitu anafanya si kitu poa, anafaa kuwa na access right fulani na fulani come to it. Because a lot of parents, I'm not a parent, but time yangu ikifika, I'll have to talk to my child about being a responsible child and also the rights of being a child, because every right inakujanga na responsibility. So every moment that huyu parent ame come home na me realize that kuna kitu may happen kwa mtoi fulani nje, I need to bring it to my child.
Yeah.
Now find in that space that you have, ile metengeneza na mtoto wako, sit down, understand what is going on through their life. Now listen to these red flags as Cynthia and I are saying.
Yeah.
Listen to what they're saying. Listen to who do they interact with when they are out there. What do they talk about when they are out there. And then from there now start making that that decision that I really need to bring it on board to my either spouse or even to other parents to get to understand that this is what my child is going on, is going through, and they need to understand that they can be able to get help as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Labda Cynthia utuambie now, what can you tell parents in line with talking to their kids on this specific matter of child trafficking without instilling fear?
Yeah. I think the first thing is for these parents to know what human trafficking is. You can't tell someone something you don't know. Understanding really what is human trafficking, what is child trafficking. And then use creative ways to talk to your children. Use stories, use drawings, use songs. Just away, Vinyetu Wilson amesema, what is the language you and your child have, right? If you can use a story of, as we used to have Kinagot Matata, you know? So you can find ways to bring it down to their levels and don't give them the information mara moja, kidogo kidogo. Today you tell them, ABCD. Tomorrow you build on what you told them the other day. Pole, 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 pole.
Okay.
Isn't the language. Because some things you might take to come exploitation, you have lost them. Right?
Ajui exploitation in nini.
Bring it in a way, bring a story, the way you would tell, watu wa kwetu, tulifanyiwa hivi, tulianza. You remember I used to be told people came from the knee. Ilikuwa social star, ilikuwa
watoto wako kwa magoti. Nilingojea watoto watoke kwa magoti, nilingoja sana.
Bring it in a way that they will understand. Soften the language and then give the information in small bits.
Kuna kitu Cynthia nataka tuambie. Which are these grooming tactics zenye our exploiters, traffickers wanatumianga, especially kupick their targets. Kwa safety and security, unajua choosing of a target basically, as you said, inaanza na the predetermined mind. Huyo adversary mwenyewe anafikiria, hii ndio target yangu. In order to take over that target, I need to do A, B, C, D. So take us through what goes on in terms of grooming of this victim of trafficking, or rather smuggling as well.
Yeah. When you're looking at grooming, let's, for example, talk about children. Children who are groomed. We look at the aspect of that. Grooming is basically teaching somebody to do something or be something with an intended purpose.
Okay.
All right? So, for example, if you're going for an interview, there's a way you prepare. You just do before.
Kenya 1 week.
You Google how are they. So these perpetrators, they look at these children, and because they have an intended purpose, they look at how do I bring these children close to me? How do I earn the trust of this child? So you'll find that, for example, there are perpetrators who groom children through the internet. They lure them through the internet. They identify a child, and you see right now, children have access to the internet.
Kwanza ndio wengi hata kuliko adults.
So you'll find that this perpetrator will just easily look at this child, identify what they like, identify the challenges they are facing, and then try and meet those needs. So they will present a profile of a child. They will just come as a grown man. Some of them, they present as children. Some of them, they present as mentors. All right? And once they get hook of that child, it just starts with hello, I'm so and so. It starts with a like. Inaanza hivyo kidogo kidogo. They start conversation. This person gains the trust of this child. That is now the process of grooming. And it does not only happen in the online space. Even in our day-to-day lives, a neighbor can just look at a child, create friendship with that child, lure that child because they have an intended purpose for this child, which is mostly to exploit them. So those are some of the tactics. Some people will use affirmation, affirming this child.
Or appeal to the emotions.
Exactly.
A
teenager who is struggling with their appearance. Remember,
self-esteem.
They've been talking. So this girl, maybe this boy has said, hey, I struggle with ABCD. They now start affirming them. Some other tactic is using gifts to keep this child interested. Right? Dealing with the issues they have.
Yeah.
So those are some of the tactics they use to groom and to lure these children to gain their trust.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yani, hata mimi sijui, I have a son, and you know, breaking that kind of conversation really will require a lot of wisdom. Wilson, unaweza sema aje?
Hakunanga njia ingine. Ni hiyo tu kwenye amesema.
Ma tactics ni hizo
tu. It's just that once it now gets from online, they now try make it physical.
Okay.
Because they might try and exploit them online.
Okay.
They send nudes, they send porn stuff and all that for them, for the consumer. And also kuna wale wenye they'll ask for a meetup. And through that meetup now again they are able to exploit them in that similar way. Yeah.
On the same breath of leveraging on social media, what would you say is your take, bado tu kwako Wilson, on the role of social media and tech? Is it working against the trafficking, ama inasaidia pia the processes of these perpetrators to traffic?
Social media inaweza tumika kama a protagonist tool, then inaweza pia tumika kama like a recruitment tool pia.
Okay.
So it has the positive and the negative. Because whatever I see on Facebook, it's what I'm going to consume. So for example, I'm really desperate for a job. The first place where do you go to? Social media. So I'll go look at this job, ninafaa, and then imeandikwa tunakutana place fulani afya center, and then I'll go there. So physically I've been recruited through what? Social media.
Yeah.
Secondly, inaweza tumika kama tool ya kucounter. How? Venye sasa hii tunafanya. We are trying to create awareness for people to get to understand. Using those posters zile zenye zina creatiwa, getting to understand what exploitation is. Getting to understand who's a victim of human trafficking. Like getting to understand also places zenye unaweza pata help. So that is a way in which inaweza pia tumia to create awareness and also to help the people who are facing exploitation. But again, I want us also to look at it in terms of social media is a grooming tool, as she has said. Because at some point, what una forget that it all starts with the high. Na hiyo high ikuanza ti kwa physical. Unajua siku hizi wase by the way wanagopana hata kwa matatu manzejo.
Mmekaa hapa na hapa lakini ni matext.
Ongelesha msemo hapa. Na unakuta pengine hata na namba yake anaanza kumuongelesha through the phone. It just starts with that. So the moment we now start seeing social media as it is, then now we'll be able to have a way in which you can be able to mitigate the vice that now comes with the use of this social media. Because a lot of victims and a lot of traffickers wanatumia hiyo sphere. Anakuja anaona huyu anaweza, huyu hawezi. Ama kama ni a recruitment agency, the same anaona this guy can be able to recruit them or not. So they use such means.
So Cynthia, labda tuambie, through your experience, we've seen you've interacted with the victims and all that. What would you say in general on the effects of trafficking kwa hao victims? How are they, wanakaa namna gani and things like that?
Yeah. Let me say that what they go through is horrific, Then it doesn't matter what kind of exploitation. It's horrific. Labor exploitation, sexual exploitation, all of it is horrific.
Yeah.
And because we experience life differently, we also experience trauma differently.
Yeah.
So many of the survivors I've worked with, they have trauma. They present with PTSD. They have depression, anxiety. Yeah. They are very fearful, some of them. It affects their life, not only even mentally, even physically. Because you can imagine, you have lost social capital. You have lost 2 years of your life. Yeah. Right? You are being in an exploitation situation for 2 years of your life. That is 2 years you're never going to get back.
True.
This perpetrator has sent you back, even financially. I have worked with amazing people who are like, ningekaa hapa tu niuze mandazi. Right now I would be maybe even farther, you know. So they also deal with guilt. They deal with shame. Some of them, they go through rehabilitation, they go through therapy. Yeah. And some are able to overcome. Some, I have worked with amazing women who decided, yes, I'm going to use this as fuel for me. Some are able to pick up faster than others because we experience trauma differently. But it does affect them and also their families. It affects how they interact with the world. When they come back, some do not want to talk about it. As we want to ask them, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, you came back in a wheelchair. What happened? And then they're not ready to talk about it.
Okay.
Right? Some of them experience even stigma. You hear somebody calling them, ule msichana Saudi Arabia. You see, it's very
wameshawatag, wameshawapea titles.
You've already given them a title. You have tied them to that experience.
Yeah.
And you see, as much as they have gone through that one experience, it does not total their entire life.
Yeah.
All right? Because I have worked with many survivors and the resilience they have, you know. So they do bounce back. But before that bouncing back, it's
a process.
Their life, yeah.
So Wilson, how would you say the community can better support these victims?
There are various strategies communities can do, and one of the ways is, first of all, by acceptance. Accept that this is their child, and we need to take care of them. Also, the community itself getting to be aware of the whole process, and getting to know that there is no any easier way that healing comes. It's first of all by being accepted and also being shown that arm of love. Because at some point, as Cynthia said, stigma comes not just from within, it comes from the community itself.
Yeah.
They've built a lot of trust on this person. You went, we expected you to have done so and so and so.
Yeah.
So we need also the community to understand that at some point things go wrong, and when it goes wrong, it is only the same community that helped me, because at some point the community were to help people to
in a rally behind you too and all that.
So because you rallied behind me as I was leaving, also rally behind me as I'm healing as well.
Yeah. Nice. And you've worked with the victims. Are there any success stories or interventions? Let's say somebody reached out to you guys and muka disrupt a possibility or a likelihood of trafficking?
Yes, personally I have.
Yeah.
Kwanza sana ni za mavijana tu. Like boys tu kumtaani. Unajua when you stick around with guys and then you get to understand what is going on, una realize that kuna a very big gap when it comes to employment, a very big gap when it comes to information na kutoka hizo.
Yeah.
So most of the time, especially when we go to workshops, we always tell them there is a way you can migrate safely. There is a way you can be able to avoid all this. So before you migrate, talk to us. So most of the time when they'll call, hata sometime wanakuja mpaka ofisi, you give them the safe migration tips. If someone gets that aizi pitia hiyo process yote, tunawaambia then avoid it. If you can't, avoid migration. Also the other aspect ni getting them to learn also from the media on what is happening, kwa sababu media imekuwa ikiportray the stories.
Yes.
Wache kitu nini imekuwa ikiendelea. Do you think you can be able to do this and that? And then once they say yes or no, well, now it depends also on them. But tumewapatia the options that are available. Also working together with these government agencies.
Yeah.
Like for example, when it comes to recruitment, jobs almost, I think all of them that are legitimate, they'll have to go through NEA, National Employment Authority.
Yeah.
So unawambia tu, just take your phone, buy bundles za 10 bob, hata kama ni 20 bob za 1 GB za 1 hour, check kama ile job iko pale, kama umepost na hiyo agency na iko legit, then you can go ahead and apply, because it's still part of that understanding the migration, safe migration process.
Okay. What about you, Cynthia? Your take on that?
For me, I think success. I have found it very beneficial to hear the voice of the survivor throughout the process. I remember when I started, I was a social worker, and I believed it is me who's going to save you. Yeah. I'm here, superwoman. Yeah. But then you realize sometimes
ground different.
Because sometimes you can put in interventions, and when you really look at it, these interventions are for you and the organization, not for the survivor. You find that you're pushing a survivor to do something they're not ready for, because kuna dona ametuma chapa, ifanyike. Survivor yuko ready. So I have found that incorporating their voice, asking, what do you want? Do you know, when you ask somebody who has gone through all that, you even dignify them. You know, you dignify them. What do you want? At what speed should we move? You know, you create a relationship, and you do not look at these people like goals that look at them as human beings.
Yeah.
And when you're able to look at them as human beings,
you don't look at them as KPIs.
Thank you. Stop looking at these people as KPIs. Look at them as human beings, each as their own. Journey with them, because again, you're doing this for them.
Yeah.
You know, if for example, I am coming to this interview and you say, Cynthia, come dress the way you want. I go and pick and I'm like, this is my soul. This is what I want. But if you're forcing things down my throat, then it's not fair. So I have learned the biggest success is incorporate the survivor's voice, journey with them, move at a fair speed. You know?
Paka ukona hiyo shared value hapo katikati.
Yes, because sometimes I have had survivors who they wake up and they're like, today I don't want to talk to you. Now because it is about them, I don't take it personally. I understand that, hey, by the way, you know what, today they're just not up for it. So it is for me to talk to my boss and be like, hey, by the way, ABCD. And when you're incorporating their voice, even in how you share their stories, you dignify them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to add on her.
Go ahead.
Amesema kitu very crucial, the humanity side of it. And even when we are doing conversations with youths, because for me, I'm much more geared towards prevention more than protection. So you'll find like when I'm even talking to the youths, I am talking to an adult as well. So I always make sure that even when I advise you, this is what you can be able to do, make the decision you personally. Because once the decision has been centralized to them, and it's not on me, or I'm not trying to pull out the blame, but I'm trying to make them understand that there are consequences to every decision and every choice that you make.
Basically just making sure that they understand that they own their decisions.
Na hiyo ni specifically ule mse mwenye ajapitia si victim huyo ni ule mse pale bi mtaani anatafuta wera ama anatafuta kitu ya kufanya.
Okay. We've seen initiatives and programs through NGOs. We've seen the government speaking about it. There's a time actually hata kwa TV we saw people from Saudi Arabia being brought and all that. What are the programs or initiative programs that people can get involved with to support prevention and intervention efforts against trafficking? Okay. Zico?
Yeah, Zico. Let me brag with ours first. So
charity begins at home.
Yes, as a Salvation Army, we have the project, Simba project that I work under. And what we do is we create awareness in different communities. We rally youth, wazee wa nyumba kumi, as well as children, different programs. We have 4 clusters. We have Nairobi Thika. We have Samburu, we have the Coast Cluster, and we have the Highway Cluster. You just look for Salvation Army, Simba Project.
Simba Project,
Salvation Army Church. You walk, you say, I would like to work with the Salvation Army Simba Project. They will direct you to us. We work with national and local administration. Kinama chief. We incorporate the entire community.
Law enforcement as well.
Yes. Because you find that there are conversations youth will have. Wazee wakiwa wanasikia
kidogo
ngumu. We also have programs for
wanajitoa kidogo tu.
We also have programs for children, which is the Rights of Children Club. Welcome us. We will come and talk to your children. We will come and educate them on their rights, as well as prevention of child trafficking. We have so many partners. So many partners. We have so many programs. I can plug them.
Okay.
We have Heart Kenya. We have Childline Kenya. We have Azadi Kenya. We have Chitea, Love Justice, Okoa Sasa. Who am I leaving out?
Mimi.
Rats. We have Rat Kenya.
Yes.
So all these, they are on the internet. Internet tu tunaiongelelea. They are there. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on Facebook. Check them out on kuna wapi pengine?
X.
X. There's X, there's TikTok. Because on these platforms they create awareness. They have toll-free lines. Sometimes, like remember last year we had a march from CBD to Arboretum.
Wow.
So there are so many programs within these organizations. Check them out on the internet. You will find them. Volunteer with some of them. Uzuria NGO, we always have room for volunteers.
Kabisa.
Yes. So reach out to these organizations, chat them up, kwa inbox too. I'd like to volunteer with you guys.
Nice. Mimi napenda kwa hii podcast huwa napenda kuchange gears. Mmekuwa mkifanya hii kazi for a while and you have a huge experience. how do you ensure your safety and security? Tuanze na Wilson. You definitely mtu akiona NGO anaona tu pesa.
I hope zina just jiko tabla hapo wasione nani. Anyway, personal security is crucial.
Yeah.
And I think unajua tegemea pia na organizations.
Yeah.
Because there are some organizations who are really invested in the security of their staff.
Yeah.
Others who have really invested on the personal security of their staff. Unajua kuna ile general na ile personal security.
Yes.
So for me, I'd say, like for us as Talita Kum, we always have those briefing moments, sessions with the police.
Yeah.
And also not just the police, but also people who are really into safety.
Yeah.
I like the, what do you call it? I organization kubwa ya mapolisi ya international. No, the international one. Interpol.
Interpol.
So they provide actually trainings on how we can take care of ourselves.
Okay.
We also have the individual effort. Unajua over time una creating ile resilience na una pia unajua what kind of people you are dealing with.
Yep.
So you also get to understand how can I be able to spot this is someone who really is targeting me or not. And hiyo ina building over time. Yeah. Because uwezi anza leo alafu pia kesho tu umeshakuwa pro kujua unanifuata unaona. So you get to understand also that ukitake as a personal issue, you'll be able to take care of yourself as well.
The reason why I ask that is because unakutanga sometimes anywhere when you're working with the communities, be it in social work or any facet, unakuta watu watataka tu kujua what is in it for me. And they can do whatever it takes. Has it ever happened to you, Cynthia?
Yes, I've been in situations where you've mobilized a group, you've done your job, you've trained them, you have, capacity building. Alafu mkutano inaisha unaulizwa, "Niva madam?" Hakuna chai. Na ukweli mbele nyuma una chai.
Yeah.
Okay. Because maybe different programs have different provisions.
Yeah.
So si kila saa unaona NGO akituko na pesa.
Okay.
So it was very, very we ended up having a 1.5 hour conversation.
Kuambia tu vile.
Mbona sina chai. Yeah. And because also as NGOs we want to break your dependency cycle.
Exactly.
Chai no si kila siku.
Yeah.
There are days you'll come, we appreciate you, we break bread together, and there are days I've just come to give you this information, and it is just for me to hope that it is valuable to you.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had that situation. It is very challenging, but you learn kwa job.
Unajua you learn on the job. Unajua pia Wilson, unajua the more you're working to mitigate these risks of trafficking, ni biashara ya mtu pia. Aliwekeza pale. Ujaipigiwa simu tu kaambiwa tunakucheki.
Allow me to nimecheka juu. Once we go to the field, we have a policy.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to share my personal information, personal contact. Just know my name and that's it.
Yes.
And that's one of the ways yenye naweza kujiprotect nikiwa kwa grao. Manze nimeenda pale nimepeana namba yangu personal. Si eti watanitumia M-Pesa message ile pale it's all about taking care of not just me, also the community pia. Kwa sababu wataput a lot of trust in me, alafu ni fail, what will happen in that? So most of the time you'll find like for us umebrag about it, wacha ni bragade. Yes. So kwetu tuna run a toll free number. So in this toll free number what to ensure that anyone who calls us, they are able to get the assistance that they require. But first of all, before itufikie sisi, itakuwa imepitia certain channels, wamesha filter out, wamejua mse ako hivi na hivi na hivi, na hivi sasa before now they come to the office, ndio tunaweza kuoffer help. Okay. Yeah.
As a parting shot, I'll want to hear from both of you on these people out here, because this is also a channel where we get to feel, the opinions of people all around, and also inspire people who probably want to join in what you're doing. It's safety and security, but child trafficking is one security aspect that I didn't get to understand it better than I have right now. Mmenifunza a lot, and I hope out there pia the Crimeshield fans mmekuwa able to understand. What is your parting shot with this topic? What is your take home? What do you feel about the job you're doing? Is it impacting society? And the person out there mwenye anataka kuingia into this field, ni nini anaweza fanya? What is it yenye anaweza angalia so that anaweza kuja awasaidie job, be it a volunteer, be it anything? Tuanze na Cynthia.
My parting shot.
Yes.
Child trafficking is real. It is here with us. Human trafficking is real. It is here with us. And because it is here, we have to look at why is it still here. 21st century, 2024.
Yeah.
Let me share. We don't go too technical.
Yeah.
We have something we call push and pull factors. All right. Some of these push factors are factors that are pushing someone to this trafficking situation. There is poverty, conflict, abuse at home.
Yeah.
As communities, how do we work together to work on these push factors?
Okay.
Because you find that there is trafficking, there is re-trafficking.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't dealt with the thing that took you away, you'll get yourself back into that hole.
Yeah.
It's like if you have a cavity, uende utolewe meno. Kesho huyo kwa ice cream na sweeties. Utapata tu the next tooth. Si kweli?
Yeah.
So as a community, we can look at what are the systems we have in place in our own communities that we can support people who are quote unquote vulnerable. You know, these are children who are orphaned. These are people living in poverty situations. These are people who are living in abusive homes. How do we support them? Then we are able now to start working together. Because mimi nikitoka pale kwa ofisi yetu Salvation Army, there's only so much I can do.
Okay.
So you want to join us again?
Yeah.
For the Salvation Army, walk into any of our church. Just say I want to volunteer with the Simba project. They will link you to us. And then the last thing, I would advise our community, our society, please let us stop victim shaming. All right?
Yeah.
So many people are not coming out to ask for help. Why? Because when they come, you ask, kwani ukujua? You know? That is the question we have a lot when we are doing so many of our trainings. Mbona alienda? Let us understand that nobody wants to be exploited. Nobody wants to be hurt. These are circumstances that happen. All right? Because again, remember I've mentioned the push and the pull factors. So if we are able to accept these people, work with them, journey with them, because sio kila mtu alienda. What about children? You know? Even some situations you find nobody, yes, you gave consent. But what happened to you is not what you initially consented to. So let us change the language. Let us stop victim shaming. Also, let us stop labeling. Just because somebody is a victim or a survivor of a particular thing, that is not entirely
their whole life.
You know. So that is my parting shot. Again, the organizations I've mentioned, check them out on Instagram. Inbox them. Just be like, hey, you guys, I want to volunteer with them. You're welcome.
For the victims, before you wind up, what is the toll number that people can call? Do you have it?
For us, it's 0800 721 361.
Okay.
Yes. And then we have Childline, which is 116. We have Heart Kenya, CJ Cram. Lakini nitakupatia.
Tutaweka hapo kwa chini pale.
So there are several hotlines, and then again, our police officers, our children officers, they are able and capable.
Yes.
Walk into a police station. I have ABCD case. Because most of the cases we get are from the police. Yes. So walk into a police station and just be like, hey, we have ABCD cases. The police station will link to the nearest organization. Then we come together and we help.
Nice. Wilson, tuambie parting shot yako.
Well, Cynthia ni kama amedai yote, but kuna kitu
alibeba mwa Kenya.
I'll speak about Talitakum, Kenya. So for us, we are a religious institution under the Catholic Church.
Yes.
And once we speak of volunteering, you can walk into any parish from where you are. Just look for the parish priest and ask of a project that deals with human trafficking and also volunteer. Sisi tuko kwa diocese zote za Kenya. So you can be able to reach out to us through that as well. And my parting shot now comes here. Resilience, sustainability. Kwa sababu at some point we forget that ile kitu ulifanya mse apitie human trafficking was just to build resilience to their lives, just to bring something to the table. So we need to have a way in which we can be able to build resilience to our communities. A lot of organizations wanna do the same thing over and over again, but have we ever looked at how sustainable will it be? So for us, we are really encouraging building resilience that is now will be sustainable. Just the same way as we are together with Salvation Army, we are trying to ensure that partnership works. Kwa sababu si wengi usema partnership haiwork, tuwezi work na gava, no, you can't work alone. And as my boss always says, Sister Laura, najua atawachi, au anasema alone I can go fast, but together we can go far. So the moment una realize that you proverb itakupeleka place, so we encourage bringing on board partners. We are always on look for new partners, and apart from also volunteering, you can walk to an office and see how you can be able to partner with them. Hii kazi si rahisi. You are a counselor, you are a psychologist, you can walk into one and just offer to volunteer your services to the staff in that office. Not just to the victims, but also to the staff as well. Amazing. So let us work together. We can fight human trafficking. One child at a time. One child at a time.
Wow, that's a lovely way to end it. And there we have it, guys. At the Crimeshield Podcast, we bring to you the best of the best people who really understand their craft. Human trafficking has been a worldwide plague. Imekuwa ni donda sugu, and it will only take you and I to deliberately break it down and understand how best we can be able to fight it. You've heard it from the best, and what's your take about it? Put it down in the comments, and if you're watching this, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to this channel in order to promote us, to reach to greater audiences and bring more amazing guests like the ones we've had. So until next time, keep it Crimeshield.